A lot of people don't realize this, but hidden within Kentucky basketball's depth, they've got a secret weapon in the backcourt.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, and on today's episode of Locked On Kentucky, going to talk about a secret weapon that Kentucky has just hidden within their backcourt. Also on today's episode, please, Kentucky, whatever you do, don't do it to me again with an international prospect. I don't want to go through the heartache once more. We'll break that down, as well as one more listener question about Jaylen Lowe and whether or not he could possibly be first team all SEC. Going to be breaking that down on today's show. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when their first $5 bet wins. Thank you guys so much for making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. Want to remind everyone out there that we're free and available wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, asked this yesterday, I'm going to ask this again today. If you're new to the show and you've not subscribed yet, would love it if you hit that subscribe button. The goal is to get to 20,000 before the start of the season here later in November. Would love to see you join in the Locked On Kentucky crew. All right, let's go ahead and get to it. Kentucky basketball has a secret NBA prospect hidden within their backcourt. So we've been going through some listener questions here as of late, and I would encourage you guys, go check out at Locked On UK on Twitter. We've got a forum over there, a Google forum, I should say. It's also within this YouTube channel's posts, the most recent post, where there's a link to go fill out a Google form where you can give a take, a listener question, anything you want. We're going to be covering it on the show, and we've gone through a couple already, but we're getting to a third here today. And this one comes from Garrett Ray. He asks, who do you see as the higher potential guy going into the 2025-2026 season? Colin Chandler or Brandon Garrison? Now, yesterday's show, we started off talking about whether or not Brandon Garrison would start at the 5, and if Jaden Quaintance, when healthy, would start at the 4 and the 5, how Kentucky would handle that rotation. I think it's pretty clear how Kentucky could possibly handle a starting lineup, and I think that the two big lineup with Quaintance and Garrison is very much so possible, especially if Quaintance shows a little bit more consistency shooting beyond the paint. Some of you liked that in the comments. Some of you really didn't. And I appreciate and respect all of you, and I will be expecting $50 from that one guy who said that he would Venmo me if it ever happens, if Garrison and Quaintance both ever start together. I will be monitoring that, by the way. I just want to let you know, you are seen, and your $50 will soon be within my wallet. But I appreciate everybody out there that wants to kind of give their opinion, and I want you to give your opinion on this question here from Garrett. Who do you see as the higher potential guy heading into the 2025-2026 season? Colin Chandler or Brandon Garrison? Because in my eyes, Kentucky has an NBA player just hidden within the depths of their roster. Now, we obviously have gone into great lengths here on the show already, talking about how Kentucky could do the rotations, who plays where. It's a lot of positionless stuff here when you look at guys that can literally play 1 through 3 or 3 through 5, possibly, if you want to get really weird with it. But I think it's pretty clear. Colin Chandler is going to be playing somewhere between the 1 and the 3, and he's going to get minutes this season. He's going to get more than he did last year. That is for certain. Now, whether or not he starts at somewhere like small forward or shooting guard, I don't know, but I think he's going to get a lot of run. But also at the same time, nobody's really talking about Colin Chandler, right? They're talking about Denzel Aberdeen. They're talking about Jasper Johnson playing really well at shooting guard. They're talking about Otega Oweh. Obviously, if he comes back, which we're hearing some good stuff on that front, nothing that I can officially report on, and obviously I'm not an insider, but there are a lot of different players that have kind of overshadowed the return of Colin Chandler. At 6'5", 200 pounds, the kid has an NBA frame, the NBA athleticism. We've seen that, even though it's not necessarily been displayed on the floor a ton, it's been displayed in highlights from practice, and the kid can shoot. The stats from last season don't truly reflect just how good Colin Chandler can be. Do we realize how good Colin Chandler could be for this squad heading into this season and through the non-con slate as a returnee, someone who can shoot the ball? Over the course of his final 9 games of the season, Colin Chandler averaged 5.6 points and assists, 1.5 rebounds, almost a steal per game, in just 15 minutes per contest while shooting 50% from 3, 42% from the floor. Had some struggles getting things to go inside the arc. I think that's not going to be a problem necessarily this season. But the three-point shooting, look, if you can get 40+% from Colin Chandler and you can up his minutes, he's going to be an extremely valuable piece for this Kentucky squad next year. Why? Well, one of the things that we've been talking about a lot already this offseason is whether or not Kentucky can actually maintain the three-point shooting that they had a season ago. The answer, I think, is objectively no on paper, but they can at least try and find some of it with various players, and I think Chandler has to be somebody that Kentucky can rely on from beyond the arc, at least at certain points, with guys like Aberdeen and Oweh and Jasper. You don't necessarily have to have him be the guy every single night, but he needs to be somebody that can turn it on when other players aren't playing well. Per 27 minutes. And I think that Chandler will probably get somewhere between 23 to 27 minutes per game. Per 27 minutes. Last season, he would have been averaging, over the course of those 9 games, 10 points, 2 assists, 2.5 rebounds, and 1.4 steals per game. I think we do need to acknowledge here, Colin Chandler is probably not going to be a double-digit scorer for Kentucky, but he is an NBA caliber player. He 1,000% is, especially if he can keep his efficiency. And look, in 20-ish minutes per game, if you're averaging a steal per contest while you've got Aberdeen and Jasper and Oweh taking away your playing time at various spots, 1 through 2, sometimes to 3, you're a really valuable asset to this team as somebody that can create turnovers, knock down outside shots, be a 3-and-D type guy with some athleticism to boot. I don't think we fully realize, now that he's knocked the rust off after going on that two-year mission, just how good Colin Chandler can be for the Kentucky Wildcats this upcoming season. I see him as a higher potential guy for UK going into this year. Will he be able to flash it every single night? Probably not, but he is a secret weapon that Kentucky has in their backcourt and somebody that I believe will be playing in the NBA in the future. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you want to Venmo me $50 in case you're wrong? Let me know in the comments below. All right, please don't do this again, Kentucky. Don't do this again with an international prospect. We're going to dive into the latest around Yelovich here in just a second. Not Andreas. I keep saying that for literally no reason. It's Andrea. I keep saying Andreas because of Stojakovic. We will continue to give you updates on Yelovich here in just a second. Before we do that, though, tell you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs have just been nothing short of cinema. Every single night has delivered highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts back and forth. The Celtics, the Knicks, the Nuggets, the Thunder. Can't miss moments. It's been incredible. Whether it's a game-winning shot like Halliburton had earlier in the playoffs, or maybe even a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. And FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Throughout the course of the next couple of days, will be putting a little bit of something on the New York Knicks. After Jason Tatum went down for the Boston Celtics, I think you're probably going to see the Knicks go into the TD Garden and make a statement. Right now, FanDuel has the Celtics favored by 4.5 points. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that. And you can also throw down on FanDuel as well if you want to go put something on the Knicks. And if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. You can head to FanDuel.com. Place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. You can make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, continuing along here on the Tuesday edition of Locked On Kentucky, Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. Really appreciate you guys checking out the show today. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel or the podcast feed, I would greatly appreciate it if you did so. Going through Kentucky basketball's secret NBA weapon in Colin Chandler. And then also, now, let's talk about Yelovich. Andrea Yelovich is going through the process right now to get into the States, to get admitted into UK. And Mark Pope sat down with the media earlier today and was breaking down some different things going on with Kentucky's roster. Jokingly said the roster's worth $200 million, which, I mean, hey, if it wins you a national title, it might as well be, right? But he was asked about Otega Yelovich and the latest surrounding him. And this is the quote. "The NCAA is working hard and pushing it through as quickly as we can. And you know, I have every reason to believe that he's going to be just as successful here as you know all of our guys are. I think he's got a chance to be really special." I'm going to get out in front of this. Please, Kentucky basketball, Kentucky athletics, University of Kentucky, I should say, do not do this again. Please do not do this again. Now that we have a few extra months to get an international player within the United States and admitted into Kentucky, maybe we got some more time to avoid the chaos that was Zvonimir Ivisic. Getting Yelovich acclimated to this new climate as quickly as possible is going to be crucial for Kentucky this season. They need him in their front court desperately. Please, Kentucky, whatever you do, please make sure this kid gets in. Kentucky needs him this upcoming season. To go back to what I was saying about Colin Chandler, about shooting and about versatility, Otega Yelovich is going to be able to provide that to you in spades. You cannot build the plane, the power forward plane, so to speak, out of just Mohamed Diabate, Jaden Quaintance, and Williams sometimes playing the floor when he's better served as a three. Williams can, but think about Quaintance and Diabate. They're not three-point shooters. Diabate had a good percentage last year, but he's not a volume guy, and I think that he's going to average out somewhere between his freshman and his sophomore shooting numbers, which is somewhere around 32, 33%. Maybe a little higher than that, but he's not going to be taking more than maybe 1-3 a game. You need someone at the four that can stretch out, pop in a hit and outside shot like an Andrew Carr, except for Yelovich. I think that he can actually probably shoot a little bit more than maybe Carr did, and not necessarily in terms of efficiency. I'm saying in terms of volume, which, as we've already stated on the show as well, the name of the game for Kentucky this season is volume. With new pieces, they're going to have to take more threes in order to score more, and I think they're going to be able to get some extra possessions, whereas they weren't able to a season ago. Yelovich needs to be on this Kentucky squad. It's not just the shooting, it's also the versatility. The kid can probably guard 3 through 5 comfortably. You need another player out there that can, I don't necessarily think give you some muscle, but just give you some height, give you a size advantage, period. Kentucky, despite maybe some of the physical weight that they had on their roster last season, didn't necessarily produce the most physical results around the rim, and they were not necessarily great at staying in front of their man or bodying kids up as you needed to consistently in the SEC. Somebody like Yelovich, again, the faster you get him acclimated to his climate, the better he's going to be able to adjust to food, whatever's in the air, apparently, as Zvonimir got sick pretty often. Just getting comfortable in another country, he'll be able to physically contribute to this team a lot faster than maybe Ivisic was a season or 2 seasons ago, I should say, which is crazy that that's already 2 seasons ago. It feels like it was just yesterday that we were talking about Ivisic going off against Georgia. Cats need this guy. They absolutely do. When you look at the 4 again, Diabate's probably going to start, but I mean, he's the only true power forward that you have on this team. In my opinion, he is the only true 4 that you have on this squad outside of Yelovich. Otega has to be there. Please, Kentucky, whatever you do, do not do this again with an international prospect. Some of it, I acknowledge, is not necessarily in Kentucky's hands. If the transcripts aren't right or whatever it was, if the paperwork, period, is not good enough, there's not really anything that they can do. Although it is frustrating whenever it did happen that this was a school that nearly admits everyone and their mother, and which I don't necessarily know if that's appropriate to say. It's accurate. The fact that that happened, and yet we couldn't get this kid in to play for a program that is making the university money. I know it's not football money, but it's money. It's Kentucky basketball. So let's not do that again. Let's make sure that he gets through and that everything goes smooth. All right, we've got one more listener question here to wrap up the show about Jaylen Lowe, who has been cooking, by the way, in the G League invite as of late. Going to break that down here in just a second. Before we do it, though, talk to you guys about our friends over at Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank account and wondered, where did all of my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, just splurging on random things or maybe subscriptions, it's really easy to lose track, right? And that's where Monarch Money comes in for you. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. It's not just a budgeting app. It's complete financial command over everything going on in your life. And you can track all of your accounts, your investments, and your spending all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start actually building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on random subscriptions, maybe to something that's a streaming service, maybe to an online thing, sports related, trying to keep track of Kentucky athletics where I can get it elsewhere. I budget smarter now and save more thanks to Monarch Money, and you can take control of your finances with Monarch Money. You can use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Use code LOCKEDONCollege. All right, wrapping up the Tuesday edition of Locked On Kentucky. Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. Again, if you guys have not subscribed to the show, would love it if you did so. Trying to get to 20K, 20,000 before the start of the basketball season, which is going to happen in late October. Pope actually hinted, apparently, at another exhibition game Kentucky's going to have before the season starts. I am here for it. As long as no kid gets hurt, knock on wood, please, I'm here for it. I also want to see what the squad just looks like. I'm super excited to see how this team plays together. Obviously, they've not really had the chance to, at least some of them haven't, but I'm fired up. And the guy that's going to be leading the charge at point guard, I think is an underrated addition to the squad. Jaylen Lowe, the transfer from Pitt. This kid struggled to shoot the ball last year. Come to find out, he was dealing with a broken finger. And when you look at his freshman shooting splits, they're not bad. They are average, slightly above average, actually. I think a junior year in Mark Pope's offense is going to do wonders for Jaylen Lowe. I think he is going to look dramatically better efficiency-wise and just overall as a point guard with this Kentucky team. He can create in isolation, which is going to look great for UK, and the offense, in turn, I think is going to make his shooting splits go up. We saw the exact same thing with Lamont Butler. He looked incredible statistically compared to what he was doing at San Diego State, and I think anybody that watched him with the Aztecs and watched him with the Cats realizes, hey, Mark Pope's offense made him look good, made him look really good as a player that played on ball and off ball at different times. Jaylen, I think, is going to be playing on ball quite a bit whenever the centers obviously aren't initiating stuff. But Sco Wildcat asks in our Google form, says, and this is his take, that Kentucky is going to finish first in the SEC, first overall, or in the conference, and then also Jaylen Lowe is a first-team All-SEC guy. First in the SEC, we talked about this with Locked On College basketball host Andy Patton recently about, heading into this season. Kentucky's probably the favorite, guys. Kentucky's probably the favorite to win this league. And I think with good reason. They've reloaded their roster. They've gotten better at every single thing that they struggled at last year. The shooting might not be as great, but look, they're still gonna put up points. They're still gonna put up points, and the defense is going to be much better with Quaintance anchoring things down if he's healthy. Please be healthy, JQ. I think that's a solid take. I don't think it's a hot take right now with what Alabama and Auburn and Tennessee are losing. It makes sense. As I said on yesterday's show, Kentucky's not the only team that's added players through the portal and through their recruiting class, right? It's not the only team that's gone out and done something with their roster. No duh. So we're going to see some new look stuff across this league this upcoming season. Is it going to be as good as it was last year? I don't necessarily know, but what I can tell you is that first team, or finishing first in the SEC, is not an extremely hot take. But what is a very interesting take is Jaylen Lowe being a first-team All-SEC type guy. I can't right now, and maybe this is just lack of immediate ball knowledge, with Sears gone, I cannot, and with Ziegler gone, I can't think, and Taylor gone, Wade Taylor that is, I cannot think of a guard right now, unless Tahad Pettiford comes back, that I would rather have manning the ship as like a first-team All-SEC type guy. I need to go think about what other teams are bringing in. I know Xavier Lee's good, but he's not like a great distributor. He's a really good shot creator. Now, if Florida does end up getting Boogie Fland, by the way, maybe we have a conversation there. I think a lot of people would say, oh, Fland's the best PG in the SEC coming back. But as of right now, with how good I think Lowe is going to be this year, with the jump that I think he's going to take, I like this. I like this take. I think that is a very, very good take. Now, a lot of people are going to look at this and say, oh, well, he shot terribly last year. Oh, he was doing all this pit, blah, blah, blah. I'm saying if he takes the jump that I expect him to, and there's reason to believe that he will have some sort of improvement, whether marginal or substantial, he's going to be an All-SEC type guy, I believe. It's just whether or not it's first team. This is a fun take. I like this from Sco. Let me know what you think, though. Is Jaylen Lowe a first-team All-SEC guy? Does Kentucky win the SEC for the first time in what feels like forever? I hope they do. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hey, you can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On UK, follow me on Twitter at LanceDaw_, and follow the show over on Instagram. That's at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, you can leave those in the YouTube comments below. You can hit me on the socials. I will see you all tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and God bless.